Dear colleagues and friends, welcome to Prelude, an interview series about opera produced by Atelier d'Excellence for educational purposes. The current episode is supported by the dynamic music platform Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Our guest today is a Bel Canto diva, or a VOCE con FUOCO, as we call her, American mezzo-soprano Miss Jennifer Larmore. Welcome, Jennifer. I will call you Jennifer better.
Yes, please do. And I will call you Maria.
I take this freedom because you're a wonderful person, and I don't think we need this kind of official stuff between
Not
us.
at all.
Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to welcome also my AdE partners, Mr. Sunny Boyd Latla, AdE Creative Director, and conductor Yanis Giannopoulos from London. Hello, Yanis.
Hello.
He's an AdE associate, so almost all AdE is here today to welcome Jennifer.
Yes.
Jason was supposed to be here too. We can't reach him at this point. We hope that he joins us later. Probably something urgent happened to him, so we wish him all best and that he will join us later. And without further ado, I think that Sunny Boy can start with the first question.
Absolutely. Jennifer, I just want to take this time in this moment to say thank you so much again for taking the opportunity and to sit down with us. Really getting to know you has been such a pleasant opportunity, really. You're such full of energy and a lot of love, and we love you so much.
Thank you, Sunny Boy. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So I guess I will start with the first question. If you can tell us, how did it all begin? I know that you grew up in the southern East Atlanta of Georgia.
Yes.
What influenced you to do opera?
Well, my mother and father told me that I sang before I talked. That my whole life from beginning to now has been one opera after another. And so as a child, I would sing in choir and things like that and play instruments. And I was always the kid in the class with the loudest voice, sing over everybody else. And when I was 12, I was in the little orchestra in my school, and I was playing the flute. And I had a wonderful band director or orchestra director that would make us sing our parts. And he would make us dance our parts so that we would feel the rhythm in our bodies, and that we would sing and feel all of the notes inside of ourselves. So I would just sing as loud as I could and get into the whole thing. And he took me aside and he said, "While you're okay in the flute," he said, "I think you should sing. Your voice sounds really good." And to be honest with you, my voice at around 12, 13, 14 sounded basically like it does even now. So I really developed early. Now, my father loved opera. He was an actor and he was a writer and an editor and all sorts of things, an artist. And he just loved it. And so every Wednesday, he forced all of us kids, there were 4 of us, to listen to opera recordings. But we listened to the old timers like John Charles Thomas and Dame Ava Turner and, you know, a lot of old, and Franco Corelli, who I started to love way back when. And they all hated it. But it rubbed off on me and I loved it. So he took me when I was about 10 to see La Traviata. And it was the Met on tour. And I remember the lights, you know, going down and the conductor coming out and the music starting. And I went, this is what I want to do. So my mother said later on, she just hoped that my voice would develop into a real loud, wonderful operatic voice and I could pursue my dream.
Awesome. And also, just to mention, as you talked so much about your family, it feels like they were very supportive in your decision in taking this path of becoming an opera singer. If you can elaborate that on
yes,
that a little bit.
They were extremely supportive. And all of my brother has a beautiful baritone voice. My sister, Wendy, has this gorgeous high soprano voice. And my older sister, Kathy, has a fantastic alto voice. So they could all of them have been professional. I don't know how that happens in just one family where every kid has a really good voice, but they did. But they all went into different professions, and they all always supported me in what I wanted to do. And my parents too, although I did find out later that my parents did harbor quite a few fears about if I would be able to make money and pay my rent and things like that. And of course, that's just normal for parents, isn't it? You know, to worry about their kids and how they're going to, you know, do the practical side of life when they're at the same time trying to follow a dream. You know, so yeah, but they were so supportive, and they were so supportive that I didn't even know that anything could go wrong, because they always told me, you will be successful at whatever you do. And I was so green and such a baby and so innocent that I just believed him. You know, my parents were my best friends. If they told me whatever they told me, that was God's truth, you know. So they told me I was going to be successful. There was just no other thought came into my head.
I think when you have such a big support system, it helps you as well to not worry about so many things and just focus on singing, because really it comes through when you're on stage. It's like looking at, I mean, I've been watching your recordings. I mean, Claudia saw it, I don't know how many times. I was just stuck in you. And having this background of big support from family, it really comes across. I must say, to the young singers who are looking up to you, support is always something that we all need. And to hear it from such a person of your caliber, a legend, I call you a legend. It's gonna motivate them.
Well, I hope so. I think that this is the kind of life that we all go for. You know, it's not easy. So I think you have to have an enormous amount of poise and elegance and integrity to walk through this kind of life, and you cannot do it alone. I don't care what anyone says, you cannot do it alone. You need a good support system, be it your parents or your spouse or your partner, or, you know, even a little puppy. I've got my little puppy sitting here on the floor here, and I go everywhere with it, you know? So you need that support.
Thank you.
And actually, this support can be maintained even from distance, because when you have the heart connection, even if you're on the different sides of the Atlantic, I think it's still your power, this support.
Yes, and thank God for technology these days.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jennifer, at AdE, we have been very concerned regarding opportunities as not being a matter of privilege. We wouldn't like this in the future to be like this anymore. We would like to help to the extent we can, so that opera singers get some opportunities in their career and for the development. So we remember that you mentioned during our initial conversation with Sunny Boy that a US donor sponsored your artistic refinement from the beginning to the completion of it.
Yes.
And if possible, we would like you to talk about how important it is to receive this support for young artists, and what, let's say, can the opera world, the more established people can do for this in this direction in order to help them.
Yes, I think it's very, very important that people make an investment in the young singers. If you have a choice and you want to make a really good investment in somebody who wants to follow a dream that could lead to financial security for themselves and being able to pay back the people that do support them, then yes, go for an opera singer. Don't go for the, football player. Go for the opera singer. But everybody has a job. Okay, the opera singer has to deliver the goods. So I have to say, for me, it was an incredible motivation. I couldn't let these people down. They believed in me. And so, and now some people would call that in place of motivation, they might call it like a curse almost, that you have to do it. Yeah. But that is not the way I felt about it, because I was young and I really had a dream. Now, I was lucky also. I was in the right place at the right time. And that helps.
Mhm.
But you're not in the right place at the right time. You can think outside of that box, and you can go to a big corporation, for example, and talk to these people that, you know, if you have a contact there through somebody that might be able to make a contract with you and say, I promise to pay back this money with a certain percentage. And you make a contract, an actual contract. I mean, what have you got to lose by asking for this sort of thing from these huge banks and big corporations that always do a lot of concerts and bring in singers? So find out which ones are doing that and see if you can get somebody to support you. It's more often than not, maybe they will say, well, now this is an interesting investment. Let's see. But you do have to have something to show them. You've got to be able to work for it a bit, you know.
I mean, just to support what you're saying, really, I think that helps, because I think I can mention my sponsor, because I come from that foundation where I was helped by the Wendy Ackermans in South Africa. They've been so good to me. I even did ask them if I can pay them back. They are so generous. They're like, the only way you can pay us back, Sonny Boy, it's if you get a contract at the Carnegie Hall or at the Royal Albert Hall or Covent Garden. We will fly there, and then that's going to be the payment. And eventually it did happen with God's grace. It happened, and I didn't plan it. I think this donor system helped me to challenge myself, to work hard more, because honestly speaking, there are so many good singers who are well talented, but I always think that talent will always beat hard work will always beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. So I did work hard, knowing that I'm not talented vocally, but then I had to work extremely hard. And by having the donors, the Ackermans, pushing me, like giving me the support, it really pumped me, and I made it. And they came to see my shows, and it really pays off. It really pays off. And it's something that I'm proud of. All the time when I go home, they are the first people I go to and say, hello, how are you? Things are like this. And they keep contact till today. We're good friends.
That's wonderful.
So I absolutely support 100% what you just said.
Yes, but I have to elaborate a little bit, because it sounds too simple.
Yes.
And people are going to be listening to this and say, well, what does she think I'm going to do? You know, just march myself down to some big corporation and say, I want money. You know, it's not the way it works. I think there's probably many different ways it could work. Yeah. And it is I think quite a personal thing, and you have to do research and do homework. There's a lot of preparation that a young singer who doesn't have the contact to begin with somebody in the corporate field, that they would have to do. And they'd have to talk to a lot of people and find out which corporations are willing to even entertain the thought, you know, of investing in an opera singer. But how are we supposed to know unless we ask these questions, you know, find out, be interested, you know, maybe talk to somebody in the corporate field, or a lawyer, if you can afford, you know, to talk to a lawyer, if you know anybody, and see how you can get in there to get this type of financial help, because there's not a lot of financial help out there, especially now. Yeah. And scholarships or master classes, they're even hard to come by now for young singers that want to take part in master classes. The scholarships are hard to come by. So I think there's a lot of thinking outside of the normal, just if I work hard, I'll get the opportunities. Yeah. It doesn't happen that way. You have to make the opportunities, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You know, I don't want to say that this is a simple process, because it's not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it is a possible thing to do.
Yeah.
I guess you are saying that, Jennifer, because there are two kinds of donors: the people who are individual, like the very kind family of the Ackermans, and the corporational things. So these people usually see only the profit and the investment. So you have to have a different strategy how you approach each one of these cases.
Exactly.
And it would be better for young people if a greater foundation would be to organize something like that for them. Because for an individual, let's say a graduate from the high school who has a nice voice and want to start voice studies, this seems like a very, very difficult thing, like a Calgary. So
Yeah.
I guess that, maybe more established people of the opera world can help younger ones towards this path.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think it's the time to hear the wonderful voice of the conductor.
Yes, maestro.
I like all this talk, because this is proper advice for, as you said, thinking out of the box and creating your own opportunities, which is hard. And nowadays there are limited. We have to struggle. I mean, we all have done that. And talking about opportunities, this is why I wanted to a segue to go to my question now. You made your professional debut on the other side of the pond, as we say over here. So it was in Opéra de Nice with Clemenza Di Tito.
Exactly.
So what urged you to leave your country and seek these opportunities in Europe? Was that kind of what we're talking of, grabbing or creating an opportunity? And would you advise young singers to also take advantage of these things and being very flexible on moving and not stubborn or kind of narrow-minded in how to approach their next career path?
Yes, let me just answer that question first. I think I would absolutely tell young singers, go where the opportunity is, go where you can find support, go where the doors open for you. And for me, I basically had no choice, because I was doing auditions in the United States and I was getting not very much of anything. And so I remember begging my husband to be able to sing for his agent on the day that he was doing an audition at Cami Hall in New York City. And so he said, yes, of course, I'll talk to my agent. And he did. And she said, oh, all right, if there's time, she can be a nice little girl, you can audition at the end of everybody else, And it was for Syracuse, New York, Augusta, Georgia, and Nice, France. And I got nothing from Syracuse or Augusta. They said, we want somebody with more experience. And of course, I was saying what all young singers say, how can I get experience if they won't hire me? So anyway, I did in that audition get 7 contracts from Opéra de Nice. And so that started my entire career.
Incredible. Yeah. We are speechless.
Oh my God.
I was too. It was crazy. And then once you're there on the Côte d'Azur, where everyone wants to come, then you're going to your performance that night, and somebody's saying, oh, Peter Katuna is there from Covent Garden. And the next night, such and such is there from La Scala. And, and then the buzz started. Mm-hmm. And then 8 years later, I came back to the United States. And that was because of Renee Fleming, who we did Così fan tutte together. And Renee came back after that Così in Geneva. And she told Eve Queller of the Opera Orchestra of New York, she said, Eve, the conductor, you have got to hire this girl. She's really, really good. You'll really like her. And so Eve, just on Renee's, opinion, and Renee and I were just Renee and Jenny back then. We weren't Renee Fleming and Jennifer Larmore. We were nobody back then, but we were still us. So anyway, Eve took me for Capuletti at Carnegie Hall with Marielle de Villa. Oh, wow. And that was a night to remember, I have to say. But yeah, my country, I had to go out of my country, maestro, because nobody wanted me in my country. But then they all wanted me when I made a name over in Europe.
You had experience after that.
Yes, exactly.
They needed.
Exactly. I had the experience that they wanted me to have when I couldn't possibly have it. So anyway, it was a very interesting way to make my mark.
Excellent.
Oh, that's just so exciting. I'm just like speechless. I don't know what to say next. You mentioning amazing names, and I mean, when you mentioned Renee Fleming, and she's also somebody that I sang for in South Africa, and I had to share the stage with her, Did Raviate, when she did the tour in South Africa, and she really encouraged me. And it's my dream to say thank you to her because she's been nice. And now that I speak to you, I can say that with pride. Please, when you talk to her, just say, Sunny Boy says, thanking you for all the great encouragement you gave me.
Of course, Renee is one of the sweetest people on earth, and she would love to know that, Sonny Boy. She really would.
That would warm my heart. So, going to the next question, you are known on specializing on bel canto singing.
Yes.
And of course, you've done so many different composers as well, Baroque, Handel, some Handel as well. I just want to ask, because we have so many young singers that are struggling with repertoire lately. And I mean, we work with them on a daily basis, trying to consult what to do and what not to do. Of course, we are not experts as well. We try to stay we give them positive feedback, but we're not saying we know what repertoire one should sing. At what point, when you sang the bel canto, at what point did you decide you were ready to take over the dramatic roles like the Verdi and all the other stuff that you did?
It has to do with the word evolution. I went through this vocal evolution in my life, and starting out with the Handel and the Mozart and Rossini, of course, and Monteverdi, all the things that my little voice at the time could handle and my psyche. And as time went on and the years went by, I learned more, my voice grew more, my experience grew. You cannot sing bel canto without some life experience. I really believe that. I know that bel canto back in its day was just about beautiful singing and beautiful sound. But as time went on and I came on the scene, I realized that this is something that needs an enormous amount of dramatic expression and not just standing still and singing. I mean, those days are over. They're just totally over. And I remember what was it, the La Boheme? Was it Baz Luhrmann? I don't remember who did that La Boheme in New York, where everybody was young and beautiful. There was no, opera singers that just stood on the prompter's box with their hands here and sang anymore after that. It just didn't happen anymore. So, I really feel like bel canto is something that it comes when it's right for you. And when you hear somebody sing it and it's not right, then it's because they're really not ready for it yet. They're trying to push a square peg into a round hole. And you have to have some life experience. You have to have an incredibly good technique. And you also, I think it's very important for singers to be able to define what that technique is. And a lot of people don't even know. If you ask a singer, what is your technique? What kind of technique do you have? Can they actually verbalize what it is? And I thought, well, can I verbalize mine? And I thought, yes, now I can. It is a natural production technique. If I say E, I'm going to sing E. If I say ah, I'm going to sing it that way, because from my face, from my person, for the way that I like to sing, it works for me, that natural production technique. But you ask any singer, what is your technique? And you'll see it'll be very hard for them to put it into words.
Yeah, that's very true.
For bel canto, you need a very good, pure technique, a really good working knowledge of Italian. It's better if you speak it and, know it inside out. Because when you're singing something bel canto, you really need to know the culture, the food, the music, the passion, everything. Otherwise, you don't get that in between the lines that Bel Canto needs, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not, and there's so much beautiful twists and turns and sometimes beautiful coloratura that has to be that thin thread and you know, not these just blocks of things like we were talking about. So, you know, for me, Bel Canto is a lot of meat put into it. And I knew when it was right for me. It all came together at a certain point. And I started making all those opera rara recordings, you know, a ton of Bel Canto things. In fact, I heard one the other day and I didn't know it was me. And I thought, oh, wow, that girl's really good. And then I realized, oh my God, that's me. And I didn't even remember making that recording because with opera rara, you just did like, you know, one-off recordings, maybe one concert, and then you were done and you would go on to the next thing. So Bel Canto is what helped me grow into a singer that thinks. You have to have a head on your shoulders if you're going to do Bel Canto.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jennifer, you just touched a little bit on languages. That was my also a question that I wanted to add on top of this. I know that you speak fluently Italian and French.
Yes.
For the young singers, I mean, as we're going, and of course, that's
Korean.
And sings very well in German. When she sings in German, you can't say she's not knowing the language.
Yeah.
No, I know the language. I can speak German, but you do not want to have a philosophical conversation with me because the vocabulary gets stuck
goes
here.
away.
Like, what's that word? You know.
No.
I'm blah.
Yeah. Cool. So as we're going through this pandemic, would you advise young singers to invest in languages? I mean, you've said a lot already. So what is your advice to young singers when it comes to, as you elaborated with Bel Canto and the languages, would you advise them to invest on that?
This is a big yes. Okay. Because if you're going to be an opera singer, I think you should be really embarrassed if you don't speak the languages, because how are you going to be the best opera singer you possibly can be if you don't understand what you're singing? And it's not enough just to do the word for word. I mean, sometimes it has to be like that. When I was doing the Yenufa, for example, I don't speak Czech. I learned some, but I don't speak it. So of course I had to go by, you know, the IPA and how to pronounce it and how to do it. But as I was going, I was talking to people that did speak Czech. It was really 8 hours a day probing the brain of this person and trying to find out exactly what this sentence meant, you know. And if you have time to do that, that is the great thing. The problem with today, or not, I don't want to say today's singers or today's operas, but you know, it has been in the last 10 years of my career, it's been instant opera. Wherever I've gone, they just try to throw you right on the stage. So we have to be ready and we have to do our work. We have to do our homework. You know, we can't just, you know, sit down with some cognac in one hand and a cigarette in the other, you know, just let that be our day. No, we've got to put in a lot of work understanding what the languages are saying. And not only that, but the world of the composer too.
Yes.
You know, the world in which this this certain thing we are singing was composed, where it came from. Okay, you can tell I'm a schoolgirl. I've always loved school. I've always loved homework. I like tests. So, you know, that's the way I am. I like to do it all the time.
I bet you like literature too.
I love
because
it.
from the way you interpreted the Griffin in Lulu, one can say that you went deeply philosophically to all the meanings.
I actually went bodily to the Leopold Museum in Vienna and tried to get my head into the world of Alban Berg and looked at the paintings of Egon Schiele and studied Schoenberg and Webern, you know, I mean, just as much as I could to understand music, what a palindrome meant, what all of the technical terms were for this, why he was composing it. But see, that's me. I don't know if everyone is like that. I don't know if everyone has the time or even the inclination or the desire to put that much into their performance. But I always liked to put as much as I could, especially as the years went on, and I realized that it would enhance it. And if I didn't just stand and sing, you know.
I've recently seen Sunny Boy doing that, Jennifer, where he sang The Turn of the Screw. He was with the book reading the literature.
Yes. Oh my
So
God.
I went all
followers. The way. I consulted with all the singers that have done it, especially the tenors with Moore as well. I called him. I said, please give me your advice. He was just so, I mean, I'm very lucky I get this opportunity to talk to these guys who are specializing in this repertoire. And they've been so kind.
That's smart of you, by the way.
I try. Honestly, because I realize, I think it's because I know that I'm not vocally talented as everybody else, but then I have to bring something new on the table. This is what I know.
We saying that, but you are vocally talented.
I try. I work hard for my voice. I work hard for it to function properly.
in a way, as he said before, if we don't work hard, we stop being vocally talented because it just dies when you don't take care of it. So, Sunny Boy, would you allow me to go back to the Metropolitan Opera?
Oh, please do.
Thank you. So, Jennifer, after these 8 years in Europe, you came back to the States in the beginning of the 90s to make a great career on the stage of the Met, being an iconic Cenerentola like Angelina and Isabella in Italian and Algeri. So, among these cooperations and the encounters with such great artists, conductors, other colleagues on stage, do you remember fondly any specific one?
Oh, so many, so many. I remember. Golly, well, this was in Nice, though, when I did one of my first Cenerentolas. Paolo Montarsolo was in that with me as the Don Magnifico. It was amazing. Then I remember Nicola Guerro, he sang with me. He was Basilio in one of my Barber of Sevilles. And I just have so many fond memories of singing with a lot of the people that I had so looked up to in the years past, and meeting a lot of them, Frederica von Staden, Marilyn Horne, and all of the people that I was trying to be like, you know. And of course, we all, when we're young, we need somebody to look up to, and Teresa Berganza, of course, you know, all the mezzos that came before me. So I was looking to them for inspiration. And then when you meet them and you just see how wonderful they really are and how fun they are and how real they are, you know, your legends that you love, they're real people. So it was an eye-opener for me, and it was really, really inspirational to work with these people. And oh, well, really, I just have so many. Those people, isn't it funny that the men came to my mind before the women did?
Yes.
I remember Gabriel Baquier, the great French baritone. I remember telling a girl, but be very careful because you don't want to be with him in the dark behind stage. Because, and this is something that, you know, a young woman sometimes goes through in this type of business. So I remember it wasn't anything really inappropriate, but he was just really getting a little bit too close, you know. But I remember that Louis Quilico also, he would forget his recitatives, and then he'd look at you like it was your fault, you know. And I thought, what a man. And I loved him so much. He was so great. But Louis, he was just a master at making it look like it was your fault that you had you know, forgotten it all. Mm-hmm. But
Jennifer seems a great musician who was a quite controversial figure at the end of his life. Left this world recently. James Levine. Have you worked enough with him? Do you have any memories from working with him? Not judging the part of the Me Too, accusations, but as a musician, I mean.
Yeah, I worked with him only once. It was La Cenerentola at the Met. And I remember he was extremely kind, and it went extremely well. And of course, the Met Orchestra plays great in any case. It really kind of doesn't matter who's in front of them, does it? They're just that good. But sorry, Maestro. But that's the way it is. But no, I didn't know him at all. I mean, we just saw each other. I think he came to the dress rehearsal for a few minutes, and then I saw him the night of the performance. That was it.
We wish to separate the artistic part from this kind of stuff, but on the other hand, don't you think that it's good for women and men to stand up and speak about these experiences? Because you touched this incident with this colleague, and I believe as a young artist that it's better that these things do not remain in darkness anymore, so that we don't have any mistakes. Because I don't judge these people who maybe did these actions, but there has to be a new standard so that people do not behave like this and don't get in trouble in the future.
Yes.
Because I believe that at the end, it was very negative for the people who were accused and, of course, for the victims.
Yes. Well, when I was very young, there wasn't any of this out in the open. And so a lot of us were, my eyes were opened pretty early on. Because I was young, I had the long hair, the big eyes. I was cute and skinny at that time, so I would walk in and I would see immediately the eyes of the conductor go like that, and the finger come up. And I knew that, oh God, this is when I have to be very careful. I cannot be alone with this one. So I made immediately the decision to make sure that if it was a moment that I felt really uncomfortable with, I would remove myself immediately, or I would never even be alone in the same room. So I'm happy to say that I don't have a lot of horrible things to report that I had to go through, but I did have to be extremely creative always. Until I got older. And, as you get older, you become invisible, so it's much better that you don't have to deal with things like that. But when you're young and you're cute and you have something to give and they see it, everybody wants a piece of it, and you have to be extremely careful as a young woman or as a young man in this business to make sure. Now, it's all out in the open now. So people, they know what to do. I was so innocent, I did not even know it when somebody was wanting to seduce me, or when I was in a situation that could have potentially been really horrible. I didn't know it. I was too stupid. I was too green. I was too innocent to even think that would happen in the classical opera world in my dream. But my eyes were opened very fast. And make some hard and fast rules to protect myself.
To lighten the mood.
Say that, but it's what, Sonny Boy?
To lighten the mood a little bit. You seem like a very fun person on stage. How important it is to have a good relationship with your colleagues on stage? Because I saw one of your interviews, you did mention that it is so important to have support from colleagues on stage. And it's these days you do get it, but on special occasions. It's not always, because you get these young singers who are in there for fame, Can you talk about the importance of being a good colleague and supporting each other on stage?
Yes, I can, because I believe that when you're together, you become kind of like a family. And if you really care about the project that you're involved in, you do. You feel this incredible emotional connection with everybody. Music has that power.
Yes.
Music is passion. Music is life. You know, it's something you feel, and so it's inside of our bodies and in our heads and in our hearts. So of course, the people that you're doing all of this performing and rehearsing every day with, and then you those people you become really close to most often. And then, I mean, there are those productions where everybody wants to just keep to themselves and you feel kind of lonely, you know, but for the most part, everybody wants to go out and have that drink afterwards, or wants to go out and have to eat dinner and get to know each other. And, you know, I think that's important in that you give a better performance together. It shows on stage, you know, you can gauge how that person is going to react. And if something were to go wrong, you know, basically how to fix it immediately, because you know that person and you know what they're going to react like, or if they're going to laugh at that moment that you forget the right word or something, or you flub a different word. And, you know, so you know what they're going to do if you know them well. But if you don't, you feel kind of out in left field. So I think the support is very important on stage and off.
Great.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Sonny Boy. You mentioned before two other wonderful divas like Federica von Stade and Jennifer Larmore. You're all my role model, mezzo-sopranos all together. So following them, you were one of those that gave a dose of stardust to being a mezzo-soprano. You brought them to the fore. So this is our sense. So would you say that there are still some stereotypical things to be reconstructed as far as women are concerned in opera? It's a little bit intellectual question. And then do you think that...
Can you rephrase
it?
Sorry.
Probably. Maybe let's make it easier. So about the stage direction and the costumes and all this stuff, so they adjust to how the women change during life with pregnancy, growing older, or they should ask from the singers to fit in the box they create. So to be flexible, because I read an interview you gave about this, that all these stereotypical things should be reconstructed in a way and they should adjust to the changes of the people. I would like you to speak a little bit about this, if you know I made it clear.
Sounds like I said a good thing in that other interview. I wish you could see it now.
I have attention to do this kind of complex questions, and Sonny Boy is always yelling at me, Maria, make it simpler.
No, I love what you're asking. And I hope I'm going to answer it in an intelligent way, because actually I think that women, we have so much that we go through, and I'm not talking about you guys right now, but I'm just talking about the women, because that's what I am. So, and I know me, and I know what has happened in my body and in my life. And I think it does happen to a lot of women. You know, we go through so many hormonal changes, and we go through a lot of things, like women have babies and have to breastfeed. And I knew a woman once who had 7 kids, and she would run off stage and literally would stick a baby on her breast and breastfeed as fast as she could, give the baby to the nanny, and then run back on stage again, or give it to her mother or whoever it was waiting behind stage. I mean, she was trying really hard to keep her career going in the midst of having a family. I really admired her for that. I don't know how she did it or how she was able to find the energy, to be honest, to feed a baby and then run on stage. But yeah, I think that if people could be a little bit more flexible for the people that they're working with, like the stage directors, the as you mentioned, the costumers. And luckily, I have worked with a lot of good people who want to know, how do you feel in this costume? How do you feel in this character on stage? You know, that sort of thing. But I have had the experiences of the ones who have a concept and you have to fit into it no matter what. Now, that's really difficult. So you, as a singer, you have to find a way, and it's very challenging, and it's also really good for you to have to do it once in a while. You have to find a way to make it work, which means you have to commit to it 100%. If it's reasonable, let's say. If it's not reasonable, of course not. Then you have to protect yourself. But if it's reasonable, don't let your first impulse be to say no. You know, let your first impulse be to say, okay, this might work for me. I will try this and see, and if it doesn't, then I have to have a frank discussion with this stage director or this costumer and be completely honest and say, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. Can't we find a compromise on this? And try to be as respectful as possible about it. Did that answer your question, Maria?
Absolutely, because I believe that at the end of the day, everybody can be gracious and beautiful on stage if he's treated nicely by these people. Even bigger people can still be very beautiful. So it's a matter of cooperation, as you said. Everybody has to have.
But Maestro, you might agree with me on this. When a singer doesn't agree with something that the maestro wants, then the singer has no right to yell at the maestro in front of his orchestra. That I would say to every young singer, please don't do that. Don't try to grab power.
And it's not just the way that you do it, which also it kind of shows the civilization of how you can deal with the differences and treat it in either diplomatic or kind way. But it's also when, as you said, when it's justified, then the conductor will probably understand, because if there's something that you really need to do in a different way, or that you feel that has to be done, and you express that justified, then I don't think that there are many people who would ignore that completely.
Exactly.
So again, try to find the halfway there to make it work, because it happens. You're acting, you're on stage, you might be running, you might be doing things. So for us, asking of things that we can't do, we're not doing that at the same time. So we need to appreciate the feedback when it comes from singers, but if it's justified, because if you just say, oh no, I can't do it, then again it shows that it's not open to a discussion. So it's a matter of how you collaborate mostly.
That is the operative word, collaboration. If you can find singers that will be respectful of their colleagues and of their and then say it face to face, away from the orchestra, to the conductor. I think that for the singer, it will bring better results. And for the conductor, it is a moment of maybe, understanding finally why this singer is saying what they're saying. So, I mean, this communication is very, very important.
I often believe that even the other way around should be face-to-face. A conductor asking things from singers.
Yes.
Sometimes more private.
Thank you.
Announcing it just to everyone, because it's mostly negative comments when and it doesn't help, because even if they're right, I mean, it's not. I'm not judging if it was a just comment or not, but why not do it after rehearsal? Kind of, can you mark this? Can you do that in a different way without having 60 people listening to that negative criticism? It doesn't help anyone.
No, you're absolutely right. I think that's one of the hardest things about being a singer is going to a rehearsal where there's all these people, that first dreaded rehearsal where you feel like everyone is judging you and making their snap decisions about whether you're good or not, based on that first rehearsal. And then all the rehearsals after that, it's like, oh God, am I going to be okay? And does the conductor like me? And the young singers walk in with like a million questions that undermine their confidence.
Yeah. Somebody's crying.
Everyone agrees with that.
Shall I go bring her onto the interview? Should I?
Please do.
You want to go meet everybody? Come on. Here we go.
Hi, sweetie.
Hello.
This is Buffy, everybody.
Hi. She simply wants to be to the fore, like the other mezzo-sopranos.
Yeah, she's a sweet little one. I think she's tired. But anyway, this is the one that goes around with me that gives me a lot of support.
Oh, so cute.
looks enormous on the screen, but she's really quite small.
Oh, yo. It's so cute.
She's very cute.
I think I have to then jump to the next question, which comes from the Music Matters by Jason Tramm.
Yes.
He is saying, take us backstage before your Met opera debut. How did you focus, prepare before the performance?
Well, before my Met opera debut, I was sick as a dog. I had a temperature of 103, but nothing was going to keep me from singing. Both of my sisters were very, very frustrated because they couldn't come to see me because I was so sick and I had to prepare for the thing. So all I did before that was to rest as much as I could and then come out and sing as best as I could, it went really, really well, I have to say. But as far as backstage preparation, I listen to rock and roll. I don't, I get myself going, I get my blood pumping and I need good Led Zeppelin to get me going sometimes, and other than that, I don't really have any rituals. I decided early on I didn't want to make rituals. I didn't want to make anything that would be any kind of crutch for myself. And I say that's fine for anybody else that wants to do it. That's fine. But for me personally, I never thought about what I ate or drank, or, if I wanted milk, I drank milk and then I sang. I didn't want to be neurotic about it. I wanted to be the kind of singer that my voice was inside of me, yes, and I was smart about taking care of myself, but I didn't want it to dictate what kind of person I became, So I don't really have any great advice about how to prepare for a performance. Everyone has to do what feels right for them.
Yeah. Jennifer, I want to take this opportunity. You've just mentioned in the beginning that your father was a writer and you also have written a book. What motivated you to write that book?
Many masterclasses, because at the end of my masterclass, I always give a question and answer period. And for me, that's one of the most important moments of the whole thing, because then I think that's where they learn that that you can be a person and not have to be something unreal to realize your dream. That you can tell the truth and you can be honest and you can enjoy life. And that most of the things that they asked me, it just kind of broke my heart. It was all about fear. It was about stage fright. It was about jealousy or rejection, not being able to realize your dream. These things just really got into my head, and I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, I should write a book, about these things, because I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of problems that I went through being the young person that I was without any knowledge of the world. And so I was very protected growing up. And so going from Georgia to New Jersey, was a big change. And I think that the book came about from those masterclass Q&As, the question and answer period. And I was writing it between rehearsals and on buses, trains, planes, and hotel rooms and off the top of my head. And it just flowed out of me. And I realized I had a lot to say to these young people. And I was really hoping that it might cut off a few years of struggle for some people, or help answer some of those questions that they have. Because like I told you, they all go on stage with a million questions. And if they could go on stage with all the answers, wouldn't that take away the fear and the stage fright and give them more confidence if they had some answers? So that was the reason for it, the motivation.
are there any possibilities that we can, I mean, we have so many young singers, I'm sure most of them will be like, we want the book, how can we get the book?
Well, I think it's on Amazon. Yeah, it should be on Amazon. It's called Una Voce. And I'm writing another one, and I know everybody wants me to call it Poco Fa, but I'm just not. I'll
In any case,
idea for a name, you know, if anybody wants to give me a name for my new book.
And
not
Maria
through the
is an
sorte
expert.
either. Not through the
Maria is an
sorte.
expert of that.
But there is something I want to say. This new book is based on what opera singers really, or the young opera singers, old opera singers, maestri, you know, everybody. I want to know what people want to talk about. So if anybody's listening to this, you want to send in some questions. I mean, where can they send the questions to? Because I would like to answer people's questions.
Awesome. Maria, maybe they can send that to us as well, to Atelier.
That would be really nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can send it to our Atelier's email address, which is atelierdeexcellence.gmail.com, Maria.
Brava, Sunny Boy. That's it.
And also they can inbox us on Facebook and also on Instagram. We check everything. So we will be able to take all the questions. So everybody feel free. From the legend herself, and she's asking you for questions. And so please do it.
How good is a book if it's not for young singers and people who are in our business? It doesn't just have to be young singers, but anybody who wants to know. Maybe conductors want to know something about singers that we don't tell them. Maybe or maybe stage directors want to know about us. Maybe we want to know why conductors treat us a certain way, or you know, why certain things happen in our lives, why we keep getting rejected for this or that, or what to look for when you're trying to have a career. I just don't know. Whatever anybody wants to know, I'd like to have their questions.
Perfect.
That's fantastic.
I'll send you mine too.
I will send mine too.
It's going to be a link.
That's great, you guys.
Yeah, actually, you've almost answered my following question, and you're an advocate for young opera singers, and over the last years you've been so active, teaching, giving master classes. Apart from the advice that you've already given, and apart, of course, of them getting your book and solving a lot of, like, answering a lot of the questions, what advice would you give for the planning, apart from what you said earlier with the funding and trying to find donors to help them out? Any extra advice that you could that could help plan this journey? Because nowadays it's changed. I mean, we always evolve, we change. So is there anything else that you can think of? Because we have a lot of singers listening.
Yes, I think that one of the most important courses I ever took in college was the first course I took was How to Study. And it was one of the most helpful things I ever did. Now, I would give advice to young singers to plan, have a plan for yourself. Don't just think, this is my dream and it's going to happen because I'm so good. It doesn't work that way. You have to make a strategy. Maria used that word early on, strategy, and it just went boom into my head. And I thought, if it comes up again, I'm going to talk about strategy, because you have to know yourself. You have to know, what do you want? Then you have to know how much money it's going to take. Where do you live? Do you have to pay rent? Do you have a budget? These types of things, these practicalities have to come into play. And I don't care how good you are, you cannot just be a leaf floating in the wind about this whole career thing. You've got to put yourself in a position to where you can actually see a path for yourself. Now, of course, it's not like the old days where what we did was, first step, take voice lessons. Second step, get a great technique. Yes, right. Third step, get an agent, then, which was easier said than done. You know, you might have heard in one of my other interviews that the way I got my agent, he was just terrible to me to begin with, and he would not take me. And so I was just frustrated. I wanted to be with this agent. He was one of the best. And I finally got a card that said, get me while I'm still cheap. And I signed it, sent it to him. And that's how I got my agent. But anyway,
wow.
agent.
That's awesome.
What do I have to lose? Uh-oh. I think this is I think my computer's about to die.
Oh no.
Can you let me my thing to plug it in? You guys,
yes.
A minute.
Yes, you can do this. No problem.
This is awesome.
Yes, it's great fun. She's wonderful.
So everybody who's watching there at home, we are very blessed to have this legend with us today. She's full of information, and I must say we're enjoying every moment of it. So feel free to send those questions.
Janice, you are muted. You were about to say something nice, I guess, and you're muted.
There was noise from above. Yeah, it's such a positive person, and gives you a smile. Whatever. Yeah, I'm so glad I was here today with you.
Fantastic.
So since this episode is not live, people can still send us questions for Jennifer. She seems very open to reply to them. Yeah. So it can have a sense of a live interaction still through the questions that you can send to us.
And who knows, they might be included in the book.
Who knows?
Yeah. So
who knows?
Listen, guys, I heard what you were talking about. You said this legend that you're talking about. This legend is so technologically screwed up at the moment because she cannot find her thing to plug in. So can you talk just like 3 more minutes while I try to find this thing again?
Sure.
No problem. I don't know just if the people are watching for us now, because we are not the big star right now, but they are gonna stand us, okay? Yeah. For a while.
They still got something to wait for, so
it's worth it. Yes. Absolutely.
And it's something that it hasn't happened before. I like it. It's new.
Something
taking this break.
Sorry, yes. You said, Maria, that we don't want formalities, and this is what it is. It's a chat. It's really what it is, and it's great.
I mean, it's great already that it's happening during these times that live contact is so difficult, and she's back, so it didn't take so long.
Hey guys, please forgive me, everyone. Of course, this is life, right? We're going to
no problem at all. It's worth waiting for you. It's worth waiting for you.
Oh,
so
you're
no
so
stress.
sweet. All right, here we are now. It won't die. It's all plugged in.
And you have a different setting.
There.
in a different setting for a finale in a different way.
Exactly.
So what we were saying now, we were still answering the question, Jennifer, or not? We have finished. Yes. I don't remember.
Yes, I was saying. I'm sorry.
It was the strategy planning.
Yes,
the strategy.
And I was saying that it wasn't like in the beginning, you know, when you got we're to the stage now of getting the agent, right? Mm-hmm. And then the agent sends you out on auditions. And then after the auditions, you get all the jobs. And then you get an exclusive recording contract. And then you're on your way. Yeah, that used to be, those were the steps that we all aspired to. Now it's a completely different thing. There are no real exclusive recording contracts anymore. That was so that's when people listened to CDs, you know, and you could make a name face campaign. You could put the name with the face with the voice. So yeah, it's a different world now. So I think that the strategy has to be for the world we live in now, and the whole strategy about getting support from the corporate side. I mean that could that could be a wonderful thing to do. I'm trying to put this thing in the right place where I can talk to you guys.
Actually, I think that the point you touched, I think my colleagues, Sunny Boy and Janice, are also, touched by this, yet you relate to the word strategy because it's a word that AdE uses a lot since the beginning.
Oh, really?
And because people come to us and some people came, like younger people, and they were asking me as if I am wise in the beginning before Sunny Boy came, what are you going to do for me? And how can I solve this problem? I told them, I can tell you what mistakes I did and what you can avoid and what I have learned. So I have learned that if you don't have a strategy, you have no chance in this world, in the modern world, in the way it is structured, and all these balances. So you have to have a strategy for everything, for your learning procedure, for how you approach the network and you make connections in the field. Nothing happens accidentally like in the 60s, that somebody was walking on Broadway and found maybe a famous conductor and said, I want to audition for you, because I know a story like that. And encountered a conductor on the street. This is a little bit difficult to happen right now. So it's better to have a strategy than relaying incidents like that.
Well, that can happen for a young conductor, though, can't it? Because I've known a lot of young conductors that if they find a really famous older conductor to take them under their wings, then that's how they get their start, right?
Yeah.
If you tell me a few people, I could just start following them and meeting them on the street.
I have to think about that and get back to you.
I don't know if I'm considered young. Maybe I've lost that.
Oh no! Come on. Hey, you've got the hair and everything, so it's perfect.
You have to come to New York. On my second day in New York, I met Dolores Yajic on the street.
Oh, I love her.
I said, this cannot be happening. I talked to her, she responded to me, and I think it's still truly a place that everything is possible in a way.
Absolutely.
So Janice, you have to do it.
Good. Book my ticket
at some point.
No, but I think a strategy is something that you have to have. It's like I said in the beginning, you cannot just have this dream, and not put something behind it that's real. Dreams are wonderful to have, but they don't pay the rent. So you've got to be practical.
Yeah, absolutely.
About every step of it.
Jennifer, my next question has to do with awards and nominations. So you have received so many of them, both in the United States and in Europe. And I would like to ask if any of them is very special to you for some specific reason. Maybe the recognition at the place you come from, I don't know. You will tell us.
All of them are very, very special to me, but there's one in particular that I have such great memories around, and that was when, now you can laugh if you want, but that was when I was inducted into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, and my parents were there, and the people that supported me, that paid for me, like Sonny Boy, you had your wonderful people, and I had my wonderful Dalrymple family that took care of me and paid for my college education and after. And they were there, and all of my friends were there that had said, when I was 12 and 14 and in middle school and high school, we know you're going to be great. You're going to sing at the Metropolitan Opera one day. And there I was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they were all there with me. So for some reason, that one just sticks in my head as an incredible, it was a whole weekend, really. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful award. The Chevalier also was a beautiful ceremony. All the times that the Richard Tucker Award, that was amazing because it was the first award I had ever been given, and I didn't know who Richard Tucker was. That's how stupid and young I was. I had to learn who everybody was, what everything was in the world, and I finally did.
But Jennifer, without the presence of social media and the kind of information we have today, you can't know all these people. And I have to admit that I didn't know him also in the beginning when I went there. So, yeah. Now with information, the growth and everything is, I mean, easy to learn and to be informed about. So I
Yes.
guess you shouldn't blame yourself so much about this.
Well, when you're young, I do remember what it's like. I think that's why I can relate to the young singers that I have, you know, and that I teach, because I really remember vividly what it was like being young and being so green and needing help. So I remember that. And these I remember the memories, and I know that they say that memories are not completely reliable, you know, and that we embellish them and we remember them differently. I know that all of my family, we all remember things differently, but it all revolves around food. That's for sure. We all
So true.
But thank you for bringing that up, because it just this moment, you know, flooded back all kinds of beautiful memories of that award.
Yeah. I guess I go to the next question from our great partner, Jason, the music matter. He is asking, how do you think the COVID-19 pandemic will change the opera industry, and what positive changes, if any, might this devastating period bring to the opera and arts?
At first, I thought that there would be a lot more Baroque music going on. Because I thought there's going to be a lot of reduced orchestras, you know. I think that people are going to emerge from this feeling like we've all been through something together. And I think there's going to be also a lot, and there is right now, especially in Germany by a friend of mine, a lot of concern about how the singers were treated during, financially, how they were treated during the pandemic, and the worst parts of the time, how opera companies tried not to pay people, you know, and they tried to not live up to what they had promised. And so I think there may be some more unions that have come out of this that will be formed for the good of the singers and the musicians and the orchestra musicians as well. So I think that is one thing. I think also for singers, it's going to be an old world aside a new world. It's going to be a lot of us with memories of the way it was, but trying to adjust to the new. But then I also feel like it's going to like pop back into the performances that we know, because nothing really new came out of it, did it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, we're all just kind of in a holding pattern, except for my husband's orchestra, the Balthasar Neumann Ensemble. Fantastic orchestra led by the fantastic conductor Thomas Hengelbrock. They kept going all the way through. This man took money out of his own pocket to keep his orchestra going. They, of course, had COVID tests every day when they were working together. They stayed in a bubble. They did the social distancing and masks. He had this huge thing of masks that he was taking and changing every 3 hours. He's now to date had 40 negative COVID tests. So yeah, there were some orchestras that said, and some opera companies that said, we're going to do whatever we can to keep going. You know, we're gonna stay in a bubble together and be tested every day and all this. The Atlanta Opera, I'm so proud of them, because they decided on this big tent series, which kept everything going in such a creative way, with all of the COVID restrictions in place and doing everything they were absolutely supposed to do, but still having people come to performances with outside in the fresh air, you know, I mean, and being social distanced and all of that. It was amazing. And then there were other opera companies that just gave up. or that couldn't make it. Not that they just gave up, but maybe they just couldn't make it anymore. With the money that they needed. I mean, there's so many opera companies that were not making it to begin with, and I think that a lot of the ones that didn't make it, they probably had a lot of financial problems before this ever hit. So this was just a way to, the poor opera companies that had to. It was a way to I guess just to let them die in a way. That they probably might have done anyway. But I think that for singers, it's going to be a really new world, aside the old one that's always been there since the day of Monteverdi,
So opera never, went away. It was always here. Inspiration is here. Artists are here, and they are ready for the next chapter in the book of art.
Yes, it's not going away.
No. And as long as we have ambassadors, as young talents have advocates like you, I think their life is going to be a little bit easier and brighter.
So I'm on the side.
Absolutely. So at this point, we are very sad to say goodbye to you. But I have to say, yes, and from the bottom of our hearts, I can speak for Sunny Boy and Janice too. We are really happy to see how wonderful person you are, how warm person you are. You warm the atmosphere. I actually feel that there is no glass and distance between us. I would like to hug you right now.
Absolutely. From day one, and counseling you, understanding the situation that Maria was sick, it was really the most kindest thing that anybody could have done for us. And really, we admire you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all so much. I so enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to the day that we can all get together and
absolutely
talk face to face and have some fun
and sing some Rossini.
Oh, you can sing some Rossini.
I will tell here now publicly that there are many mezzo-sopranos who wrote to us. They are excited. You are their role model, and they are dying to see this interview. And some others are telling us, please organize a masterclass with her, an event with her. So we are gonna. That would be fantastic. Yes, something that we can stream so that many people can see. Because I feel that you are a person that thinks that wisdom is something that has to be shared and experienced and all this stuff.
It is. And you asked me, and my answer is yes. I will do that.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to apologize on behalf of our partner, Jason, that had a great internet connection problem. So he replied to me, the reason why he couldn't get is because his internet doesn't work properly today. He sends you his greetings, and he was here in spirit. Thank you very much once more. Thank you for the time you gave it, because it's quite improper time in Korea, where you are right now, around 10.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't even know what time it is, but I'm perfectly happy. It's been great having good conversation with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Wishing you to be prosperous in your life and your career, and happy and healthy always.
And you.
And thank you, Jennifer. Thank you very much. Thank you on behalf of the audience. And we also thank the audience for their attendance. And my precious Sunny Boy and Janice, thank you very much, guys, for contributing today. So thank you, everybody, and see you soon at the next Prelude. Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.